Earlier this week, myself and my team were tipped off about a child that has been trafficked, and we have been trying to get this child for 4 months now. 4 months ago was my first encounter. I saw this child and the handler, the member of the crime syndicate who had stolen this special needs child to use them to beg on the streets, to use them as a form of industry, fled through a busy bus stand at night, and I lost him. The next time my team found this child, the handlers of the child, the criminal syndicate, tried to stab one of my team members. And this last time, the child simply could not be found. We, therefore, need more officers, need more workers out on the street. I know this child's face. I feel like I already know him, and yet I've no idea right now where he is or if he's well. And more than likely, the way we have seen him being treated, he is not. We, in the last week, also admitted 3 girls who were trafficked into our family home, into our children's village. This is a huge problem and becoming a massive focus of our work. As such, so that we have the capacity, the resources, the safety to continue that work. And this is why we are pushing on this. And this week in particular, I felt to make this intro as I cannot get this little boy who I have a photograph of out of my mind. And I hope and I pray that you will join me in prayer, that we will find that child. And it is only thanks to your love and support that we are even on the ground searching. So thank you for all of the love and support, for everything you do to make what we do possible. And thank you for any support that you are sharing with Tuta Walinda, which simply means in Kiswahili, we will protect them. God bless, guys. Thank you. Bye. I believe that I am already aware what the title of this video will be, or thereabouts we can say. And therefore my opening statement may lead many of you to wonder, why is that topic present during the discussion of extraterrestrial life, grey aliens? Why are you mentioning this topic first? Inside our human story, we have gathered in community for thousands of years. And during our gatherings, we have encountered the sacred, and we have encountered the supernatural, and we have encountered the angelic and the demonic. And throughout time, we have adopted a great many symbols. And those symbols have reference and meaning. For instance, this cross, when understood, references humanity overcoming the world and a part of its own anatomy that was labeled by Yeshua, the flesh. Overcoming the world and overcoming this part of the anatomy that Yeshua pointed at with his words, with the term flesh, goes hand in hand with the discussion of extraterrestrials. For it is only when we overcome the world, or we overcome the element within us that is the flesh or the fallen nature, it is only there that we as human beings enter the state of consciousness whereby the bandwidth of reality that we are decoding allows us to see, hear, and even interact with these extraterrestrial forces. And the problem with such a topic as aliens and ETs is that It is a profoundly intriguing and interesting topic. And due to that, many human beings can spend years at their computer or reading books, perhaps some, searching and searching to understand if this phenomenon is true. Are ETs there? And during that search, we are engaging the image of self. And the image is something that has been created within the anatomy through a character trait of humanity that is self-consciousness. Self-consciousness in Christianity is described as humanity's fall away from its true power with Creator and the cosmos and the eternal presence of the living God, and a fall into a separated state. It is at that moment that we became hyper self-conscious and covering ourselves. Now, of course, the story of Adam and Eve is metaphor, and I perceive that as we split an electron from an atom, it starts the multiplication of all energy, and with it, the opportunity for life. I believe that splitting Eve as a rib from Adam, Adam having its etymology in atum, which is atom, I believe that splitting the rib from Adam is a metaphor for splitting the electron from the atom. For those with eyes to see, let them see. For those with ears to hear, let them hear. Not everything is written literally in these ancient, beautiful texts. And as such, this reference of this story, we see the fall of man is about self-consciousness, an image of self. This is important, for if you are wishing to understand extraterrestrial life, and you are searching and searching, inadvertently what we do in that position is we take this image of self that thought and our mind has created as a fallen being in a fallen world, and we blow air into the balloon of that self and tell it, you are now as an image, as a character, searching to decide if you believe in this topic or not. Yet in the absence of that image of self and any constructs that you wish to add to it, be it a belief in a certain religious ideology, be it a belief in a certain supernatural phenomena, if the belief is being adopted by the image of self without direct factual encounter and experience, it is that very image that you are blowing air into by searching persistently that must be absent for your organism to be driven by your soul to see the spectrum of reality in which these beings have their existence. In short, you can decode the reality spectrum where the ETs are. But if you continue to search, you are in the wrong frequency and decoding the wrong spectrum of reality. Grey aliens, therefore, are something of profound importance in the life of this human sitting here talking. Once we have a supernatural encounter, it is impossible to live in this world the same way again from that day forward. In my own life, I have had communication with ETs. I have been visited by a UFO or a UAP that was clearly driven by a technology that was not of our species, of our world. And it arrived on the 16th day of a water-only fast, when I was in a profoundly heightened state, a profoundly heightened frequency, and decoding a greater bandwidth of reality. I have given the testimonial of that night where my wife and I were visited by this craft, and I have also given the testimonial of my own two eyes witnessing, aside from this craft, an extraterrestrial being. This being was in my family home, and I had no sense of danger, I had no sense of concern in the presence of this being. It was alarming, and it was shocking, and it was hard for the the mind to accept what it had witnessed. But that being was there. And it peered around the corner of a door in a corridor in my home that leads to the bedrooms. And the door it was peering from was one of the bedrooms. It hung for around 5 or 10 seconds looking at me as I had a glass of water to my mouth and put it down as I saw this being and could not process or compute what my 2 eyes were seeing. So much so, I went into that corridor, into the room as it disappeared back into the room, saying my wife's name, which is Fritzi, believing that my mind must have tricked me. But that room was empty, and my wife and children were fast asleep with my dog in the other bedroom. That night I took my dog, who always stands guard over my children, and I slept in that bedroom where that being was with my dog, hoping they would return, hoping I would see them and my dog would wake up, her name is Johnny, would wake up and alert me. This being came after 2 days of praying non-stop in a manner that the scriptures reference as praying in tongues. Modern day people say it is praying in the language of spirit. Some are saying it's praying in the language of light. I have seen people pray in the language of light, and I have seen those who fake it and utter gibberish into the camera forcefully. And I have seen those whereby this state of energy encapsulates the human organism and overtakes it. And this is a manifestation of a capacity of the human being for thousands of years, as the Bible documents praying in tongues. This, however you wish to point at this manifestation, is taking the human organism and attuning it into the timeless truth of eternity. It is attuning it, therefore, into the presence of the living, eternal God. To understand the difference between the state of consciousness whereby you interact with the angelic, or you do deliverance work and interact with the demonic, or you see this greater bandwidth of reality. To understand that position, we must understand timelessness. And many human beings in our modern era have touched it whilst using substance, be it psychedelics or so on. In my own life, it has always been through fasting. It has always been through prayer. Now, to understand what I wish to share about the grey aliens, we must understand that not all things that we do not know are naturally and automatically wrong or evil. And this is a problem that we face in our world. What we do is we fear the unknown, but this is impossible in reality, for the unknown is not known. So why would you fear that? What you fear, where one man may be excited for the unknown and another fears it, what you are doing is fearing the thoughts that you generate about the unknown. And we must be cautious not to fear our own thoughts, for when we fear our own thoughts, we descend into the flesh and become a pawn in the game of the fallen world and the energy extraction matrix the fallen world has become. I'll get onto that more momentarily. So, these beings, those that I saw, were taller than myself, and I am 6'3" tall, so I am reasonably tall. This being was nearly 8 foot, I would say, somewhere above 7 foot. It was definitely taller than myself. It had a head that had quite large eyes, and the corridor was a little dark because it was nighttime when I saw it. But I define this from my memory, my records of this event very clearly, that I could see that being. Those beings are, for all the one speaking has seen, walking in Christ's path. And what do we mean by Christ's path? It means they are walking in unification with the Creator of all things, obedience and faith with the suggestiveness or the instructions of the Creator of all things, and they are not in rebellion with the Creator of all things and trying to become God themselves. Rather, they would unify and know the unity and the divine within themselves, the sacred within themselves, than try to dismantle the reality by analyzing infinite fragments and technologically controlling those fragments to become fallen angels, false creator gods. These beings, therefore, were of the Christ, and they even assisted me with a herb, as a suggestion to take a particular herb, as I was, and still am, fighting an infection called babesiosis in my red blood cells, and it elevated my energy dramatically when I did. Those beings I leave to one side. They are benevolent, they are serving unity, and in the same way a human, as I have experienced in my own waking life, can be called to rescue a dog, for instance, so too can they be called to rescue or assist another species. And I know these beings are assisting us, and we do not pray to them, we do not ask them for help, they just care. They simply care and understand that it's hard to find fault with bringing an end to the suffering of thousands of special needs children who are living in a state of constant hell on earth, ultimately. However, there are other greys, and these greys are short. Now, those greys, and I have not asked for these experiences, I have not asked for this information, I have not asked to understand this. It has been the will of the same Creator through the same processes that brought me into service of Creator and has us at present right now 3 months away from opening the world's biggest special needs children's home. A phenomenal seed planted for the continent of Africa and for the collective of humanity. This information, therefore, for many would be difficult to share, as we automatically fear, due to our self-consciousness, our fallen nature, our position in society. We fear where the image of self will connect with others. Will I be accepted? Will people mock me? Will people scoff and laugh at me? But the Spirit of truth is the Holy Spirit, it is said in Christianity. And so truth must matter more than self-preservation. From the awareness of this soul, it is the perception that I hold. As such, I share this aware that for many it is a difficult topic, but I share this also with the awareness that I must express and bring forth to this community and humanity at large, whomever may listen to this information and these encounters with these beings. These small grey aliens appear from all that I have encountered and seen during deliverance work and during prayer and outer-body experience. All things I did not seek, I only sought to serve the living God and be of my highest good. Those little grey aliens, as we call them, are a type of biological drone. They are able to be programmed. They can be told and instructed to go and do something just as a flying drone can do today. Only they are autonomous and humanoid. They can operate machinery and so on. But I also recognize at the same time that when we as humans have a near-death experience, our consciousness, or an outer-body experience, our consciousness can sometimes see our own body whilst we are not connected to it. When, however, your consciousness is completely localized in your cells and in your vessel, if someone puts me to sleep right now, there's no guarantee that I will leave my body and see my body. I may just go to sleep. And in those instances, consciousness is deeply tethered to the body. In near-death experiences or during certain states of consciousness, be they induced by psychedelics, in my own life, when I am praying and fasting, there have been many occasions where the body has shook quite aggressively, and I feel the awareness begin to leave the vessel, and I've seen my own body shaking from the other side of the room. So much so, I've had encounters with the angelic who have said, stop worrying about your body, it will be fine, come and deal with whatever it is they wish to show me or teach me. In that state, it's evident that we can tether by even a thread to our vessel. And if that tether is broken, I presume that death is what follows, or what we have called death, whatever that thing may be. I therefore perceive that even if not through spiritual development, but through an advanced technological species, be it through development spiritually or through tech, there are means to take the awareness that you are, not the persona, not the intelligence, not the memories. If you take everything that I am and upload it to an AI system, and then I die, my awareness will be able to see that AI system and recognize that is a simple imposter, an impersonator of the original creation I am. For I am awareness in human form. But so few of us, due to our fallen nature, our extreme self-consciousness, are in the least bit aware. Our awareness lives in the identity of the human, never separating from it to realize that it is not actually it. Its origin is not that human identity, it's not its nationality, it's not its name. It's something far deeper. Therefore, I perceive that sometimes these small greys are a biological drone, that sentient beings or fallen extraterrestrial, interdimensional, angelic beings can disconnect from their own organism, not fully, but reconnect in some manner their consciousness to these biological drones, and therefore they become like a biosuit, like an avatar. This I have seen in deliverance work, and my understanding whenever I am doing deliverance work, there are two parties that I have persistently encountered. One is demonic, and it usually takes no form. It is an energy form that is disembodied and seeks a body to tether to more than anything. It seeks it for experience, for sensation. It is trapped in the fallen world and the ways of the fallen world, which is gratification of the flesh, as Yeshua called it. Those souls that become too obsessed with the offerings of the god of this world, which Yeshua called Satan, it would appear become disembodied at times and become demonic forces. Likewise, repetitive, compulsive action that serves the world and the flesh generates energy codes around the human that they themselves become disembodied and seek other humans to inhabit, to propagate, to grow. Some of those codes are created by humans as program creators, which we are. We can create program codes of creation. We can delete sickness, as Yeshua did, or we can create illness, as the witch doctors, for example, would try to do in this world, the ones that serve the dark masters, the dark magic, the black magic, the dark arts. But I perceive also some of those codes are generated by a sentient force. So the demonic aside, that seem to be energy codes that are conscious in some way, seeking a sentient life to attach to, the other parties that show up inside deliverance work often look like reptilian beings. And people have laughed and mocked at this for a very long time. But I am not paraphrasing anything. I have never, as many people accuse me of, I have never read a David Icke book. I have never sat through a whole one of his talks. I know about David Icke. I know he was one of the people who said this early on in the human story, for all many people had been saying it long before him. But through my own awareness and experience and memories, I have seen these beings. And people think that you sound crazy. But people are willing to believe in angels and demons. They're willing to believe that the Son of all creation, the God incarnate as a human being and was sacrificed to pay for the wrongdoings of humanity. But they are unwilling to look at the topic that perhaps the fallen angels or the Nephilim and all of these topics, biblically and so on, actually have some substance. That the fallen angels could be an interdimensional species, or that the fallen angels, as humans have done, mastered technology. Remember, the fallen angels were cast down to this fallen world. They were cast here. And so in that element, if you look at it, that they were cast here, our lives are only barely palatable in this world due to technology. Without it, life is difficult. And there is this false image in the West that the tribes want to stay tribal. I don't know any, and I've lived for over a decade with one of the most iconic tribes in the world, the Maasai. I don't know any Maasai who don't want technology. They want the mosquito net so that children don't die of malaria. They want the clean water so that people don't die of cholera. These are things that naturally all humans gravitate towards putting an end to suffering. People do not want that suffering. As such, we, using technology so well, why would the angelic not do the same, the fallen angelic? And the fallen angelic, if they have rebelled and wish to become as God, may have created their own species through genetics, or may well be that in their fall they are these reptilian type humanoids. Those beings, when I do deliverance work, seem to feed on the lower ethereal energy of humanity. What is meant by that is the frequencies of misery, suffering, sadness and fear that we are emitting en masse. Humanity is presented through the mainstream a false image of what life on earth is. We are presented a very false image of what life on earth is. And that is evident by simply looking at the facts. The number one cause of death in men below the age of 50 is suicide. More men die of suicide every year than die of war and murder combined. Therefore, in the male side of the species alone, for all the female suffers just as much, clearly there is a great suffering to the degree that many humans say, in this world, in this body, in this fallen world, this fallen body, I cannot live with myself. Two parties, I and myself. The I is the divine awareness that is incarnating in the human body. The myself is the self-conscious image that thought and the mind generates in our fallen state. That image creates separation from Creator, a sense of it. And that sense of separation from Creator creates a longing and a yearning to feel something, to feel whole. And unfortunately, as the game is rigged, none of us are told that to feel whole, we must take things away. Therefore, to feel whole, a man should engage in some fasting, in some meditation, some discipline. A man should not fulfill his every worldly desire. He should eliminate the want for the worldly desires to be set truly free and, as Yeshua represents, overcome this world and overcome the fallen nature. When we overcome, when we are set free in that manner, we realize that the myself that people wish to kill can actually be killed without ending the biological process that allows your consciousness to be human. You can end the myself by completely stilling the mind. But the problem is, as it is with searching and researching extraterrestrials, if you try to close off the image of self, which I have labeled the slave self, if you try to close that image of self off through your own will and your own push, you are blowing air into the balloon of self. You're creating another image of self that says this image of self is going to kill the image of self. That is paradoxically awkward and difficult for people to understand. But that image, when it fades, fades of its own accord under the weight of loving awareness and humility. Humility is not something that one can attain. If I sit here and say I am humble, clearly I am not. As soon as you feel you have attained humility, the image of self has tried to take ownership of something that represents the absence of an image of self. Therefore, there is no one to attain humility, there's no one to attain the love of God, there's no one to attain the peace of God, there's no one to attain enlightenment or freedom from the slave self. Those gurus out there who say, I have attained enlightenment, ask them, who is the one who attained it? It is impossible for anyone to attain that which requires the attainer to be absent for it to be. And this is why we glorify the topic of enlightenment over spiritual rebirth as Yeshua offered us. For many people have falsely taught that you can attain this thing. Therefore, you go around with your image of self and you're allured saying, yeah, I want to hold that. I want to be enlightened. Never will that happen. Never has such a character existed that is enlightened. It is in the absence, however fleeting or permanent, of any image of self that feels it can attain or own God, enlightenment, awakening, spiritual rebirth. It is in the absence of that through the weight of loving awareness, which is ultimately humility, that we connect with the living God. And we must understand this if we are to see and understand what these beings are doing. Our suffering and our fear is conditional on us believing in the self-conscious image of the fall being who we are. Therefore, we as an energy source for the fallen angels of this lower ethereal fear-based energy we are emitting in a mass quantity in this world is reliant on the masses not realizing that I can't live with myself, that there are two parties. It's relying on the masses not becoming the divine awareness they are incarnate and aware of the self-consciousness. For in that space, you leave the illusion of Satan's fallen world. And the illusion is an illusion that tangles you with topics like time. Time is an absolute fallacy. Time, forgive me, is an absolute illusion of human thought. And we must know this to see the ETs and understand what they are doing and know our true power. And what they fear most about we as a species is not our technology. It is our original ability to connect with Source and create from it, something they have lost. Hence the need to coerce and steer human species on a multitude of planets, I am certain, in certain directions. Create a fear-based environment, and this planet will create a plethora of weapon technology that we can't, I'm referencing if I was a fallen being, we, the fallen beings, they would say, we cannot create this technology. We can't do it, as if you give us a blank piece of paper, we've lost connection with Creator, we are unable to do it. But we can manipulate other beings that are connected to it into certain states, and they will create on our behalf a multitude of technologies, including weaponry or whatever it may be. We therefore must see this, that the image that is generated by thought and memory in self-consciousness, that this image is conditioned by time. And when you enter eternity, and the reality of truth is that all of you live in an eternal now, that image begins to shake, its foundations begin to fade. You see, the problem we have is that many people say, you must be in the present moment. And then they feel that the moment, this eternal now, this presence where the living God connects with a human being and is made manifest in human form through you, through I, through Yeshua, that is how God will have its way inside this world, the Christ, the God of all creation. We must allow our intelligence to connect with that, and to do that we must escape time. And time, the now, is not part of time. This present moment is not a moment and a moment on a linear timeline. The present moment is all you have ever had and known. And you may say that's nonsense, as I remember being a child. Where do you draw the memory forth? Here and now only. There is no other place to have any experience. Even the concept of time relies only on the eternal now to draw forward memories. So we draw memories of yesterday, of childhood. We have memories of ourselves looking younger. And here and now is the only place we can recall those memories. And therefore, the only existence any human has is here, in the eternal now. Loving awareness is becoming hyper-aware of that reality of the eternal now, and there is an absence of time there. There is an embrace, a kiss with eternity. In that space, you will meet the living God. And in that space, your bandwidth of reality seems to go from here to here to here, and I don't know what the limits are. But I do know that the beings that are interfering with humanity, the ETs, the Greys and so on, they seem to live outside of this spectrum of reality where the majority are functioning from. When we embrace loving awareness, and with it the presence of the living God, in other words, our intelligence gets the opportunity to interact with reality without any memory, without any pre-existing systems or religious structures or symbols to throw around it and try to contain it and understand it. In that space where the intelligence and this living God that exists in this eternal now, the only home we will ever have, where that intelligence can unite with that, there a great freedom is born. For there your intelligence can be animated by the divine will, not by programmed will, not by programs or institutions or corporations, or whatever they may be, that have been afflicted and influenced by these fallen species. They are interdimensional beings, extraterrestrials. Biosuits for the fallen angels are what the small greys are, as far as I have seen.